we get a really smooth power delivery, and the heat and the amp draw is low.
Yeah. Hi guys, Brett here from Hearns Hobbies.
And Simon.
Simon Healy's joined me today, and today we're going to do a bit of motor tuning, aren't we?
We're going to try and smoke up some motors.
Smoke up some motors. So
Not really.
we've got a few different motors here. We're just going to use the pretty simple SKYRC Motor Analyzer. It's something that a lot of racers have.
Yep.
They're pretty inexpensive, like $150, and they're really sort of instrumental bit of kit to have in your tool if you're racing these censored motors.
There's a couple of things you need to understand about these.
Yeah, tell us.
For the price.
The price.
They're not cutting edge perfect.
No.
There is a tolerance.
They're not a dyno.
No, they're not going to give you the absolute perfect reading parameters inside, because they're going to have a margin in them. But what they're great for is giving you a guide and giving you an understanding of what's happening with your motor.
The main reason that I like them is not the outright performance, but more the performance drop-off. So if you write down certain numbers of your motor,
yeah,
and then check it every month or every 2 months or whatever it is, you can see when it's really declined or when the rotor's cooked. Or
the other thing what I do with them, and I use them for modified, not stock, by the way. So I don't use this to tune stock. I use it for our mod motors because we're looking for our mod motors to be fast, smooth, and not heavy on power drain.
Cool, yeah.
Because the more amps the motor's going to draw, the more heat it's going to pump into the motor.
That's right.
So we look for the ultimate kind of pace with the least amount of heat and the smoothest. Because you can, when you're using these and you're turning the timing, you can actually hear. You can hear a change in how the motor harmonics.
Yep.
You can actually hear it. It'll sound kind of raspy, and then it'll get smooth, etc., and then it'll just peak out like a wild child.
So these, and what we're referring to, so these are a 3-phase censored motor. Now the motor has 3 sensors on it.
Which is, can you zoom in, please?
3-phase AC. Now each one of those sensors is relation to the phase.
I'll just move this. So you got blue, yellow and orange.
Yeah, A, B and C.
Yep.
Yep, and then on the back you'll have your little sensor wire.
So
on the top.
Here we have
little 6 wire, so 2 wires.
The sensor wire that that's basically
Hall effect.
That's the instrument reading in what's going on in there. The sensor it's transferring all the information through the wire back to this, which is essentially kind of being your speed controller.
Yeah, it's being a mechanical speed controller.
Yeah, and it's telling the speed controller what the motor's doing.
Yeah. So that's the basics of the motor. When we refer to timing, it's this little gradient here. You can see the beautiful anodized.
So we've got 0, goes 0, then you got an unmarked, which is 10, then you got a 20 that's marked, then 30, 40, 50, 60.
Yeah.
60 is not recommended and modified.
Definitely not. No, you don't stray much past 30. I've seen on most of your motors.
Most modified motors were between 20 and 24 degrees.
Yeah. That's
where I found them. I have an Orca that registers 23 perfect right through, and it's a monster on RPM. It's a 6.5. It's the strongest 6.5 I've ever seen.
Beautiful. And you do get that. It's just some motors work better than others.
So this is the new V3 dash, by the way. The version 3. Yep. And it comes with.
Sorry, mate. It's getting some focus here.
What are you doing to me?
It's getting some focus. Here we go.
Yeah, so this is the V3 dash. Lots of air pockets, like it almost looks like a Dyson vacuum, really.
Well, this is a 5-turn. So unlike the traditional half-turns...
No, it's a 5 litre.
5 litre. So unlike the traditional half-turns, the collector ring for the winds is actually at the back of the motor.
Yep.
So it leaves the front of the motor, or the rear of the motor, whichever way you look at it, open, which is really good for cooling. Yep. I really like those full-turn motors.
They actually call it a whole turn, by the way. A whole turn is smoother. It's just got this really linear, torquey feel from start to finish.
But they're not the industry norm. The industry norm's now all half-turns.
Half-turns always been the norm. So, this one's got a 12.3mm rotor standard.
Yep.
It's stamped on the actual rotor.
Yep.
So 12.3 is actually a good size rotor. 12.5 is way too torquey, too much torque.
Too much grunt?
Yeah, too much. So what we'll do is we're going to go I'm reading...
And that is the diameter
Yeah.
of the rotor
Yeah.
inside
Yeah.
the windings.
Correct. I'm reading 35 degrees timing. I
Yep.
reckon that's what it says.
Yep.
Let's see what this tells us it's at.
Yep.
So we're going to check the timing.
Sounds nice. Zooming in there.
34.
So the edge on the can
That's at the average. That's the average. So we got
across 3 phases.
yeah. So A is 33, B is 33, and C is 35.
Now, ideally, you want them all the same.
Ideally,
But during manufacturing, there's often a discrepancy.
tolerance, placement, manufacturing. To make it perfect, it would have to be put together, adjusted, pulled apart, adjusted, and the time in that could take ages.
Yep.
So, but that's pretty good, really.
For out of the box.
That's close.
Yep.
You know, so, Leo, let's go to 20. Because sometimes I've found when you change them, they actually become better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it does change the whole RPM curve. So you're not changing.
Oh, hang on.
the-
No, sorry. You know what we didn't do?
What didn't we do?
I'm just going to... Sorry. I'm just jumping the gun here.
You let them loose, didn't you?
No. We're back at 34.
Yep.
We're going to do an RPM check.
Okay.
At 34.
RPM KV check.
So...
And what's this showing us?
This shows you how many amps, how many RPM.
Yep.
So we're only on the... We're only here because we've got to throttle all the way across to the red here.
Yep.
And we're already at 34,000.
Well, it's going to go pretty hard. I'd expect it to go 77.
Nah, 50,
Yeah.
55. We're at 49, 52,
There you go.
57.
That's how fast that rotor is going.
That's doing 57,881 RPM. It's sucking 7.9 amps, but that's free revving, so that's
Yep.
not under load. That'll be up higher,
Yeah, of course
way
it will.
higher. 7,235 kV. That's way too much.
Is it?
Way too much.
Way too much. We're going to see that.
You feel that. You feel the heat in that already.
Yeah.
Okay, so straight away that's telling me...
So you want to turn the timing down and hopefully
Yeah,
get that current draw down. So this is the main one here, the 7.9.
Yeah, that's too high. Because
We'd like
when...
to see about 5.5 on a mod.
Yeah, something like that. So let's just 57,800. Let's just round it off at that, right? Let's keep that in check. All right, so I've set it at 20 degrees on the end bell.
Yep.
All right, so let's check the timing, and we'll see what it's going to come up at.
It's pretty noisy.
19.
19.
And the 18, 19, 21. See how it's changed?
It's changed.
Because
And that can be just the torque of the screws.
Yes, that's correct. So how much... I'm off camera again. I'm
That's
bad for
okay.
that.
Well, I have got it really tied in so we can
So
see.
these screws here, if you tend to torque one up harder than the other, it pulls, because there's 3 sensors in here. There's 1, 2, 3. Tends to pull one sensor closer to the rotor than the others.
Yeah.
So you can actually...
Over torque or bend the sensor.
That one
plate a bit.
there, that actually one there was a little loose compared to the other two. I don't think it'll change it. But let's have a look. $19,
19 again.
18,
19, 21.
still the same.
Still the same.
Yep. So
Let's head back to the RPM test and see
Yep.
what comes up.
you can tell that's the first 2 clicks. It's still doing 34,000, but it sounds softer.
3.3 amps.
So we're halfway. We're at 40,000, and it's
4.6.
45,000 actually.
So we haven't lost a lot of RPM.
So we're at 48,000
Yep.
at 5.1 amps.
What are we looking at?
What did we have before? 57,800.
57.
We're at 54,243. We're down to 5.5 amps, which
So
is massive.
The motor's working much better.
Yeah.
Much
You
better.
probably
I think
find
you can go down a little bit more.
it's at 6,696 kV.
Mm-hmm.
You'll probably find it'll have better grip out of the corners. It'll grip better and drive harder and be faster.
And for those that don't know, what's KV? KV is 1,000 RPM for every volt applied.
Something, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what KV relates to.
Yeah.
So the higher
Kilovolt.
that,
It's kilovolts.
yeah. So the higher that number, the still getting warm though, isn't
Still
it?
getting warm, and that's like,
I'm surprised how warm it's getting actually.
yeah, that just tells you how strong the motor is.
Yeah.
You know, just
Because generally the weaker the rotor, the higher the timing will have to come up to compensate. So it's going to be a grunty, torquey motor, for sure. 5-turn.
yeah.
Are you going to put that in your two-wheel drive off-road buggy?
I think we should put this in the D2.
Yeah. we'll get the TTO off the shelf. Put that one in.
Yeah, in.
I'm pretty sure that will melt it.
Sorry. So I've just
Come back a bit more.
Yep. It looks like 15 degrees to me on the can. Let's see what it says.
What are we looking at? What have we got?
16.
Yep.
13, 13, 22. See how it's really out
It's
now.
really out now. So
It's
it's
like-
not going to be happy now.
It's not going to be as efficient.
That's going to be... Still do the KV check.
Yep. We'll go to half. 30, 42, 4.2 amps. See how it's come up slow? The revs kind of come up really slow.
The amperage only dropped
0.5.
a very little bit. The
Dropped
RPM
about
dropped
1,000
massive.
RPM, I think it was, or 500.
Mm.
Right. But did you hear the motor? The motor, as it was building RPM, it was coming up slow, then it come in, so the timing's too low. It's got a power band now.
Yep.
We've lost that linear part of the motor.
So I reckon it's going to be up around 25.
Well, what
What do
we're
you
going
reckon?
to do is we're going to...
Where are we going to set it?
I'm going to go to about...
And like I said, this isn't an infinite
This is
instructional.
not... This is not gospel.
No.
Definitely not gospel. This is just you
A guide.
looking for the best performance you can get out of your equipment with the best battery consumption, the best heat.
And your driving ability.
Yes.
Your driving style. There's no point in having a 4.5 and they're fully wound up.
No.
If you just can't harness it.
Alright, so we're going to check the timing. Should be about 26, 25, 26. It's 22. And I reckon...
And
about 23.
The motor's happier. 21, 22, 24.
Yep.
I reckon this is going to be about where you need to be. Maybe even up a bit higher, but...
We'll go straight to halfway. So we're at 46.
5.8.
So we're 55,000 RPM. I reckon 20. I reckon
reckon back.
20's back.
Yep.
Because we haven't gained a lot. The amps come up a bit. And yeah, I reckon
You reckon back a little bit?
back to 20. Standard was, out of the box, was 34.
Yeah.
34 was standard out of the box. Okay. I would definitely start with this motor at 20
Yeah.
in the car. And then, knowing what I know now, I would range between 20 to possibly 30. That's where I
Yeah.
would be ranging. 20 to 30 with this motor, knowing where the amps is. We're under 6 amps draw, which is not really the golden rule, but
No.
it's kind of a benchmark where you're at.
And more so as the motor aids, so it pays to write it down or take a photo of it.
Yep.
And then you can check it again, like I said, after a few heat cycles or even later on down the track.
Yeah.
And see how it's faring. Because they do the rotors do lose their magnetisation.
So we're just going to unplug this. What are we going to run next?
What are we going to run? I reckon we run 5.5 and we'll call it there.
This one here we're going to do, it's a 5.5, but it's got a 12.5mm rotor.
Yeah. And
So-
it's a 2 older generation motor. This one. This is probably going to find its way into my 4-wheel drive.
No, it's too much.
I do like a 5.5 in there. I just do.
You
Just
might
saying,
like it, but you're not going to be able to drive it.
I say it goes alright.
Yeah, right.
That old Orca that's in there now goes alright. Doesn't have much rotor left, but
Oh, that is Nathan's old Orca.
no. This again's up at like 35 degrees. That's a new one. That's a keeper.
Well, that's
That's a keeper, mate.
yeah, that'll just go in the toolbox, ready for the tool drive.
Now we'll be able to same manufacturer. Be interesting to hear the note. So we'll hear probably the difference in the bearings, difference in the RPM.
Yeah.
I like your soldering iron.
Well, you can't have it, and you're not going to touch it.
It's pretty fancy. Do you bring that to the track with you?
Yeah, I do, but I leave it in the car. It does not come out unless it's necessary. Then it gets packed up straight away.
You're pretty precious.
Well, at $450, mate.
And a good soldering iron is actually paramount. It does make your quality of your cars.
If you want your electronics to work well and your soldering to be good, you have to spend the money.
Have to.
There's no excuse. You have to.
And you need to be practiced. It does take practice. Now these come out of the box with clips on them, but the clips are very awkward.
You know the problem with clips?
They bounce off, they
You
short.
don't get a true reading. You solder it on, you will get a true reading with what's actually happening. These are like the old LRP tags.
Yeah, the older generation. Well,
Yeah.
like I said, it is an older generation motor. I actually prefer them.
I do too. I think they're great.
No, they look great. They're nice low profile. The solder doesn't run down.
They're tidy.
Doesn't go like on these ones. The solder can go under the tab.
Alrighty, let's just zap this and blow it up.
Don't do that.
Alright, so where do we have the timing at on this one?
Let's
35.
and have a look.
35. That's where I'm going with it.
35.
Yeah.
It's a nice looking can, that one. You can see, so that's a V1 versus a V3,
Yeah.
and that's a 5.5.
I like it. I might put that in my 2-wheel drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What have we got?
Now check the
Spin her
timing.
up.
Hear how much smoother this motor is?
What have we got?
39. 35 on the can, it's 39 actually in the motor.
Oh, look at those phases. That's a keeper.
I mean, look. I missed it. 39, 39, 39. Boom.
Boom. That one's coming home too.
It's going straight in my box. That's quality.
That's good. And you don't get to do this, do you? You don't get to hand check every motor.
I might be in here when you're at home.
Spin them all up.
Yep. Let's just see how many gigawatts it draws. Oh, it's going to be up there. At half throttle, it's 5.9. But it's pulling 42.
It's got a big rotor.
So the RPM's down, it's due to that rotor.
Yeah.
But it's sucking 7 points.
So you probably want to turn that one down a bit, hey? It sounds actually quite nice,
It's very smooth.
doesn't it?
I reckon that for Nathan, because he's just a horsepower head,
Yeah.
and this one for me.
You reckon?
Yep. Alright, so we're going to go straight to 20. And we're going to come up from 20. Okay?
I like it. There's something...
If this reads, right?
Mm.
If this reads, the sensor reads perfect at 20,
It's coming home.
well, it's not going to you. I need to... Nice new motors. Everything's really tight. You know, when they assembled it, obviously.
Do you go as far as changing your bearings in your motors, Simon?
Yeah, I do after I snap the rotor.
Yeah. The bearings actually take the biggest toll, don't they? You've really got to be careful when you're using compressed air, especially on your on-road car. A lot of people just hose it in everywhere and get it off, but
They use compressed air to clean the grit off, and all it does is pumps it in.
And gets stuck in the rotor and scuffs it all
Oh,
up.
yeah, I know.
Here we go.
That's 20 degrees on the can. On the can. 22. Oh, it's 26.
Still up there. Too much for you,
26, 20. That's going home with me. That's a really good motor. This is a really, really nice motor.
Yeah.
Which means the phases aren't fighting each other when it's in working, like when it's operating.
Sounds nice and quiet.
Yep. So let's check how many gigawatts it's going to do. What were we at before? 50.
55 at 7.7. That's responded well. 48 at 5.2.
Yeah. So that's because of that rotor. You'll be able to throw the appropriate pinion at that.
And as
Didn't have a power band. Did you notice it didn't have a power band?
And as that rotor ages a little bit, and they will lose its edge,
it'll get more RPM.
It'll get more RPM. It'll take more.
So yeah.
Good little motor.
So
what have we learnt today? The 3-generation old motor.
What we've learnt today is I'm taking that motor home.
Has come up really good on the tester, and you just don't know. And like I said, and that's not the infinite test. This is just baselines. And like I said, I like to use it more for just degradation. You can see how it's aging.
Yeah. So basically,
before you blow your speedy up, or
we don't really we don't do stock. My daughter does, but I don't chase, performance for her like that. We use this mainly for heat. We use this to get the timing in a really nice position, so we get a really smooth power delivery, and the heat and the amp draw is low.
Yeah,
that's what we use it for.
Yeah, absolutely, because that's paramount.
Yeah,
it's getting
and
nice
that in hand saves your batteries. Your batteries don't get absolutely destroyed, and in like big, huge amp drawage and stuff like that.
And your speedies, I'm sure.
Yeah, etc., etc. And you get to the 4 minutes where your batteries don't collapse.
Yeah.
So it's really
and the
good.
rotor, once the rotor gets hot, the rotors will lose their edge.
That's exactly
once
right.
You get to
once you cook the rotor, it's all over.
Once the rotor fades at the 3-minute mark, the motor can be really fast for 2 minutes, but if it's got a cooked rotor, the last 2 minutes, that's it. All right, guys. So I hope you've enjoyed this little tutorial. Watched us spin up some motors.
Yep.
We watched Simon.
Didn't make any smoke.
Watched Simon buy a new motor, so that was good. It's been a good practice. A good exercise.
Yeah, this was a ploy.
A ploy?
Yeah.
What else are we going to do? All right, guys. Well, I'm Brett from Hearns, and this is Simon.
And we've just tested a couple of motors.
We have indeed.
That I'm taking home.
Yep. So check out the SKYRC Analyzer. These are really good.
And check out the Dash 5.5 motor. What a ripper.
What a ripper motor.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching.
Thank you. See you guys. Bye.